Please welcome our Mistress of Ceremonies, Executive Director of Author Services, representing the written and spoken words of L. Ron Hubbard, Miss Gunhild Jacobs.
Thank you very much. On behalf of everyone at Author Services and Galaxy Press, the publisher of the annual anthology, let me welcome each and every one of you as we now move through the fourth decade of discovering and nurturing new creative talent in the fields of science fiction and fantasy. I want to extend a special acknowledgement to the celebrated and legendary company of our judges. They are our rock and foundation. They generously share their hard-won experience with the novice writers and illustrators and impart the confidence and encouragement they need to start professional careers. To our judges, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on board, making the contest what they are. The writers of the future judges, past and present, are Kevin J. Anderson, Dr. Doug Beason, Dr. Gregory Benford, Algius Budries, Orson Scott Card, Hal Clement, Eric Flint, Brian Herbert, Frank Herbert, Nina Kiriki Hoffman, Dr. Yodi Kondo, Anne McCaffrey, Todd McCaffrey, David Farland, Rebecca Mesta, C.L. Moore, Larry Niven, Andrew Norton, Frederick Pohl, Dr. Jerry Purnell, Tim Powers, Mike Resnick, Christine Catherine Rush, Robert J. Sawyer, Charles Sheffield, Robert Silverberg, Dean Wesley Smith, Theodore Sturgeon, K.D. Wentworth, Dr. Sean Williams, Jack Williamson, and Roger Zelazny. And I'm pleased to announce two new writer contest judges, both best-selling and award-winning authors in their own right. Ms. Nancy Kress, whose most recent Nebula-winning story was After the Fall, Before the Fall, During the Fall, and Brandon Sanderson, author of the Mistborn series and the completion of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. And the judges for the illustrators of the future contest, past and present, are Ed Cartier, Robert Castillo, Vincent DeFate, Diane and Leo Dillon, Dave Dorman, Bob Eggleton, Will Eisner, Frank Frazetta, Frank Kelly Fries, Laura Fries-Baraja, Stephen Hickman, Jack Kirby, Paul Lear, Ron Lindan, Val Lakey Lindan, Stefan Metinier, Gary Meyer, Judith Miller, Mobius, Cliff Nielsen, Sergei Poyakov, Sean Tan, H.R. Van Dongen, and Stephen Ewell. Will those judges who are with us tonight please stand up to be acknowledged? Traditionally, at this point, we give you our year in review, the sheer quantity and quality of the production of our past winners. And as the years go by, the production increases exponentially. This makes for an interesting process of deciding what not to mention. We consequently decided to take a slightly different approach. And so I give you the lesser but factually greater tale from the winners and judges themselves. And here they are.
Winning the L. Ron Hubbard Writers of the Future contest changed my life. I don't think that I would be a professional writer right now if I had not won the contest.
Every once in a great while, you're lucky enough to have some kind of an experience that you just want to hang on to for as long as you can. And that was it.
It was like a huge swell of emotion, standing in front of the most distinguished people in science fiction and fantasy. And I am totally confident in myself and my ability, and that's what the contest has given me.
You very rarely get to meet so many amazing writers in one event as you meet here, and I will cherish it forever.
You look at all the people who are in the field today who have been through this contest. Editors, writers, novelists, winners who've hit the bestseller list. They've shaped the industry and the genre by being it. We're everywhere.
The field of science fiction fantasy has really exploded. I mean, you see it everywhere these days. All types of movies, all types of TV shows. And L. Ron Hubbard was on the forefront of that years and years and decades ago.
Hubbard said that science fiction was the herald of possibility. That was one of his quotes. And the contest certainly shows the possibilities.
He saw the new talent knowing this is about the new voice. This is about fresh new ideas. That's what science fiction and fantasy is about new ideas.
It used to be that people learned science fiction and fantasy writing on their own. There was no infrastructure. There were no workshops. And this was one of the first things where we started to get something that was accessible to people from all over the world that was aimed at lifting up the quality of beginning writers.
I'd had no formal training, very limited resources where I lived, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity to send some work somewhere. I really had nowhere else to send my work.
I was expecting something in the mail, so it was just totally blew me away when they called me personally.
I remember it clearly, even though it was 10 years ago.
I saw this call and I was like, what's this number? I picked it up and I was like, hello.
She asked me if I was sitting down.
Because I'm positive there's got to be winners that faint, right?
I said, yes, I'm sitting down. She said, do you know why I'm calling?
I'd just like to tell you you won.
What place? And she said, no, first place, you won.
And I got up and screamed and danced.
I did it.
So I just hung up the phone and went in and told my wife, I'm going to LA.
You come here and it's like, welcome, this is your new career, this is your new life, this is your birthplace of what you want to do, and we're going to help you do it.
The workshop is a week-long workshop where you are just inundated with information. Probably the best workshop exercise that we did is the 24-hour story. There were 3 things. We were given just a random object.
Any object.
It's out of Tim Power's bag of magic tricks.
And we had to go to the library and pick out a random book. We had to go down to Hollywood Boulevard and pick a random person and talk to them for 20 minutes.
Once you start talking, you start to realize things about them that you would never have guessed. And then you take all of those things and you go back to the workshop and they say, okay, you've got 24 hours, write a story, go.
Hours later, they have a story.
You realize you could do it. I wrote 2 24-hour stories and ended up selling both of them to professional publications.
But on the illustrator side, having the workshop structured the way it does, I mean, it really is conducive for learning.
It's just like art and business and illustration 100%. Like that's what you live and breathe for a week.
They brought in other illustrators and other professionals to go over our portfolios.
It's great exposure for new artists to actually see how the professionals work.
And I think understanding the principles that Hubbard teaches helps you to understand not only art, but also the world. And as a budding artist, you know, you just sort of soak it all in.
The art definitely enhances the writing, and the writing inspires the art.
The artists have created illustrations for our stories, which are in the book, but the authors haven't seen them until the day before the book actually becomes an object. And then they set it up so all the illustrations are in one room, and they set the authors loose to figure out which illustration is theirs while all the illustrators are watching.
I was the first person to notice which illustration was mine in the room. It was just so immediate and obviously my story.
I ran up to it, and of course, it was beautiful. And the first thing I noticed was the citadel, which was a key feature of the story, was right there in the mists through the rain.
It captured it so beautifully. details I hadn't even thought of.
Every little important plot element in the picture, and even recreated a style of art I had described in my story in the painting she had done.
The work is award caliber work. And to have that opportunity to publish so many first-timers in one place is just unbelievable gift to the industry.
L. Ron Hubbard had a very singular vision when it comes to the contest. I don't know if anybody else would have attempted something of this scale.
A legacy of creating not just one generation of new writers, but now we're into the second generation of new writers. People who have understood to write a story every quarter and submit it, and if that doesn't win, then you write another story and submit it the next quarter. And the chain reaction that this has had among the science fiction field, it's an out-of-control chain reaction.
We have a contest that's continuing to grow because as authors and editors, we touch people, they touch other people. It's only been 30 years, and yet we have thousands of novels that have come out of this contest.
There's nothing that has equaled this in terms of introducing new voices to the genre.
Is the only writing contest that can actually launch a career.
Since winning the Writers of the Future contest, I've published 26 nonfiction books, 4 novels, and over 100 short stories. And I'll never forget is the thing that kept me in the field.
It gave me the courage to keep going, to keep writing, to keep submitting, and as a result, I've had over 40 short stories in professional publications.
Over 40 book covers, comic series, graphic novels.
I was published in more than 60 magazines.
And because I said that I'd won Writers of the Future, I was also paid more.
And I've got 17 books in print or under contract.
4 novels and over 20 short stories.
I've had 7 New York Times bestsellers.
Since I've won the contest, I've lost count of how many different pieces I've published.
I've published 4 graphic novels.
Over 50 periodicals, books, magazines.
And have sold many, many other stories.
We won the Nebula Award.
For the Nebula Award.
The New York Times bestseller.
2 Year's Choice Awards.
Short film
The Whitney Award for Best Novel of the Year.
And look at the list of the winners for the last 25 years. And some of the major names in the science fiction field have been winners.
People from all over the world.
From Russia, Canada, Asia, Australia, and all over Eastern and Western Europe.
I don't know of any other contest that even compares to it.
This contest is really changing the world.
Every year we have something special to celebrate, and this year is no different. Indeed, it is extremely unique for the fact that the genesis of these contests started 75 years ago in Alaska's first city, Ketchikan. The year was 1940, and L. Ron Hubbard was already by then a widely known author with over 4.5 million words in print. He had also by then worked in Hollywood as a screenwriter and been the president of the New York chapter of the American Fiction Guild. Hubbard set sail from Seattle in the 32-foot ketch Magician on the Alaskan Radio Experimental Expedition under the Explorers Club flag number 105. Upon his arrival in Ketchikan, he was invited to do a series of radio shows on KGBU, the Voice of Alaska. It was in December that he announced a writing contest for Alaska's amateur writers in the Golden Pen Award. Anyone but professional writers may participate. That was the rule. During the KGBU broadcast, L. Ron Hubbard further explained the premise of the Golden Pen contest. It has been my experience that almost everyone at one period or another of his life has harbored a desire to write. And he went on to say, the amateur writer, even when he has completed a manuscript, seldom knows what to do with it or how to go about getting it in print. That is information which one earns dearly. Having so spoken, L. Ron Hubbard invited local residents and listeners of the Voice of Alaska to send in their tales. And today, 75 years later, in celebration of this occasion, The general manager for KTKN, formerly KGBU, has traveled from the Great North to be with us for a special presentation. Please welcome on stage Mr. Kent Colby.
As a young writer at just 29, L. Ron Hubbard navigated his ship, the Magician, to the port city of Ketchikan, Alaska. His stay was extended while the Magician underwent extensive repairs, during which time Hubbard befriended the owner of KGBU Radio, the Voice of Alaska. He penned and voiced The Mail Buoy, with boating advice to mariners on KGBU, which is now KTKN Radio. During his stay, he also realized that despite its rough exterior of the 1940s, its small size and remote location, Ketchikan had a vibrant community of artists, from native weavers and carvers to early adventure seekers who wrote and illustrated their tales of the Alaska wilderness and the Alaska culture. And so, to encourage the aspiring writers of the area, he assembled the writing contest he called the Golden Pen Award. While we do not have record of the winners of the first contest, we do know the Golden Pen Award gave birth to the Writers of the Future and Illustrators of the Future Awards. We also know with certainty that writers and illustrators from around the world now participate in this prestigious family of awards that had an almost unsung beginning in Ketchikan, Alaska. To that end, we at KTKN AM Radio 930 and the people of Ketchikan present this award to the memory of L. Ron Hubbard. In recognition of L. Ron Hubbard's dedication to Alaskan writers for 75 years, we of Ketchikan present this day and moment to his memory as an international best-selling author. From the Voice of Alaska.